Hi, Travis with Splunk here. In a previous video, I showed you how to configure a basic deployment server. I have one box in this environment that is my indexer, deployment server, license manager. It's all in one box. And I went over not only deploying our Splunk add-on for Unix and Linux and the Windows add-on, but also how to create maybe your own custom app to push out. If you haven't seen that video, I'll make sure to include a link here so you can go review that. But now I want to take it, one step further. This is a series I want to do where I'm going to start collecting metrics data, because in that other video I did start collecting security relevant logs, and I wanted to show you how easy it was to get metrics data into Splunk. So first, let's get into the documentation and go over some of the stuff I will be covering in this video. Actually, I'm going to start in Splunk base, because if, as you can see here in my Splunk environment, I don't have that many apps installed. And one of the first things I'm going to do is actually install IT Essentials Learn. So you can go out to Splunk base, which is our app store, and do a search for IT Essentials Learn. And what IT Essentials Learn is going to do for you is give you an app that has a lot of procedures and ideas of how can I start doing performance monitoring with the different endpoints that I have. If you scroll down, you can see there is, summary, details, installation. So if I click on installation, I don't have any there, but if I click on details, there we go, 4 instructions how to install the app, which will take you to our documentation. And I will go through this process of installing the app and showing you how it works. Next is IT Essentials Work, another free app on Splunk base that you can download now. IT Essentials Work will take, to the next step here. We're going to give you, ways to be able to start correlating all those logs and doing some metrics on the entities, which is going to be all the agents or endpoints that you have. And I'll show you how to install this app. It's a little bit different than other apps. You can't actually install it through the GUI. You actually have to download the app to your Splunk indexer, stop Splunk, and then untar it. And if you go down to the bottom of the page here and click on installation, you can go to our documentation and see the steps to install Splunk IT Essentials Work. And not only on a single instance like I'm doing, but in a distributed environment if that's the kind that you have set up. After that, I will configure the universal forwarders, the agents. I'm going to use a deployment server and push out another app for collecting metrics data. I'm going to do it for both my Windows devices and my Unix Linux devices as well, which is only two in this environment for making this video. But here I do have the documentation, which I'll make sure to have all the links posted in the description below. Now there is a little bit of a difference between Windows documentation and the Unix documentation. In Windows, if I go back to that, I can scroll down and get an example of how I'm going to set up the inputs.conf file. And here is the example. I can literally copy everything here into there, and that's what I'm going to do, and push this out. Now, Unix, Linux TA, or the documentation for it, I don't have the same thing here. So I'll show you, how I'm going to get that data and where to find it. With that, let's jump back to Splunk Web over here, my indexer. And then I'm actually going to click on Find More Apps. And if you come in here for Learn and Learn only, IT Essentials Learn, you can look in here and find it. And if you wanted to, click the install button. I tested this on another box and it worked just fine. For work, which I'll cover here after I get done with Learn, it's a little bit of different process. If you go back to the instructions and you're following along here, it does tell you to install the app from file, which works the same. I will go ahead and do that and show you how to do that just in case if your indexer isn't allowed to be connected to the internet. But here we can click on manage and then install app from file. And then we have to go find that file, which will be in my Splunk folder, mind the mess. And there it is, IT Essentials Learn. If if you've ever downloaded this before and you want to upgrade, make sure you are selecting to upgrade an app. But here, this is a fresh install, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to click upload. It's going to take it a few minutes to get everything on here. And now it is there. So let's jump back to Splunk Enterprise home screen here. All right, and now we can see it's in my list. Now, IT Essentials Learn is, like I said, a place where you can go see procedures and learn how to use Splunk. I can come down here and click on Server OS and then start, if I have AWS infrastructure pieces, if, Windows, Unix, I can click on Unix and Linux here and start filtering my procedures off to the right hand side here. Even your maturity, if you're just in beginning stages, stage one, or if you wanted to filter on, certain data sources. So go ahead and go in here and start playing around. That's a, best thing I can say to do is click and try. So here, the first one we have is for alert CPU, utilization is nearing capacity. So I'm going to go ahead and go into that one. The nice thing about IT Essentials Learn, it provides demo data. So you can actually come all the way to the bottom, click, leave it on all time, run that, and it will show you, demo data of what this should look like. And it gives you, the demo data SPL, search processing language, Splunk processing language, whatever you want to call it. But down here, it does give you a search. If you click live data, I noticed this in my home environment. I can't run this search because it's on, I have IT Essentials Learn on my search head. I don't have it on my indexer, so it gave me an error. So you may see that. What you can do is actually just copy this and then go over to the search and reporting app and run it from there. Maybe once I get data in, maybe I'll come back in here and revisit this. So here, how to implement. It even gives you like what data sources you should have for this. And then, like I said, how to implement. Let me click on that, and then goes over, very high level how to get this in. So next, let's get that IT Essentials Work app installed. As I mentioned before, work is a little bit different. IT Essentials Work. If I go back out here and click on Find More Apps, you can find it here, but don't click the install. It's not going to work. If we go back out to our documentation, which, here's the Splunk base, and then here is the install Splunk IT Essentials Work documentation. You can see here at this time, you cannot, and it's at the top here, you cannot install Splunk IT Essentials Work from Splunk web interface. I may make a little thing pop up and make sure you're noticing that, but what you have to do is you have to go download the file, put it on the, if you're putting it on the search head or the indexer, which, like I said, I have one box, so it's my search head, indexer, deployment server, and that's what I'm going to do right now. So let me jump over to my indexer, which there we go. And you can see I've already downloaded IT Essentials Work. So first thing first, I will go and we are going to go opt. Actually, yeah, we'll just opt Splunk, then Splunk stop. We'll give it a second for it to stop. It shouldn't take too long. If it does, I'll pause the video and come back to it, which I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm back. Splunk has been stopped. So now I'll move on to the next step, which is to uh, untar the Splunk IT Essentials work into your Splunk home. So mine's op Splunk Etsy apps folder. So here, got to do that. There we go. So what I'm gonna do is say tar, and I'm literally typing word for word what is in our documentation. Which, if you would like to see it, let me get this, and then we need a capital C, and then I'm going just to specify Splunk Etsy apps. So I'll jump back over to the documentation and show you what I'm looking at there. And there it is. It's just the number 4 here. Now let's go back to my indexer. I'm going to run that, and you'll see it's going to be putting the files accordingly. We are going to now start Splunk again, so I'll just do it that way. And then we will now wait for Splunk to become available. Shouldn't take as long as stopping, depending on how busy your indexers are and whatnot. But once again, I used to try to do all these videos in one take, but I've learned to not do that anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video and come back when this is done starting. All right, so my Splunk indexer is back up and running. Should be able to jump back over to Splunk Web and log in. Admin. I'm not going to say my password. So here you can see I have IT Essentials work installed. If I go into it, it takes me to infrastructure overview. Now, if anybody's ever seen IT Service Intelligence, this should look very familiar. Big difference is IT Service Intelligence is a premium app that you have to buy another license for. This IT Essentials work gives you the essentials to get started. It basically is a feature reduced version of IT Service Intelligence. So if I click on Service Analyzer and click Default Analyzer, it's going to tell me, hey, you need a license. And that's just, you know, ease of getting this going, getting data in. And that's what I tell a lot of customers when they're looking at Splunk for IT performance monitoring. Go out there and get the free stuff. Get your agents reporting in, get your agents sending the universal forwarder configured to send the metrics data into Splunk, get everything populating in infrastructure overview and IT essentials work. And you can see here, Unix add-on, I have that deployed, but I don't have the metrics in, inputs deployed to say, hey, start collecting this data and bring it in. And, you can click on the other stuff. Most of it's not going to work because this is, part of the premium app. However, you can click on configuration and go to data integrations. And if this was the first thing you installed and nothing else, you could come in here and click on Unix and Linux. And, same thing I've been doing and showing you where to get information to install this. If I back up one, oh, let me go back to data integrations. There is a thing called content library. I don't have anything in here yet. I'll do another video on this, but we do have content packs. Splunk has content packs. I keep on saying we. And yeah, you can download already pre-made key performance indicators and all kinds of stuff. All right, so first thing first, we have to get data in, and I'm going to use, let me go to settings. Oh, that just reminded me. Let's talk about indexes. So when you do install IT Essentials work, it does create indexes. And so I'm going to go into indexes here, and you can see there is some indexes that have been created. Metrics, roll up, let's see here. But the one I'm really wanting to show off is ITSI IM metrics underneath this SA index creation. Now, since this is a single instance indexer search head, I don't have to do anything else. I can, start collecting the data. The index has already been created. It is a metrics index, and if you have never seen that, uh, most of the time you are, making events. The difference, and I opened up the documentation while I was waiting for it to start, is metric index is more structured, highly structured format, which then causes you to learn some new Splunk commands. mstat, mcatalog, and mpreview is three of them. And I'll go over in another video where I'm going to start going in and playing with an analytics tab and show you how to have Splunk teach you the mstats command and start building stuff out. But before we get into all that, we have to get data in. Oh, yeah, I'm doing this again. One last thing. If you do plan on putting this into a distributed environment, there is other instructions or steps that you have to complete before this will all work. And what that is getting that SA index creation deployed to your indexer. So if you have an indexer and you have a search head and you want to have your own, you know, IT performance search head, you still have to get these indexes created on the indexer. So just go through our documentation, it'll help you out. Since I have that deployment server, I can leverage it to deploy a new inputs.conf file or app, or I could, update an existing one. I'm probably going to go the route of another app just for my metrics data, and even one for just Linux and Unix devices and one for Windows. However, let's talk about where can I get, information on how to create that inputs.conf file. One thing you can do is jump back to our documentation. There is a difference here between Windows and the Unix Linux, is if you look in the links that I've provided and scroll all the way down for the Windows, host here, and scroll all the way down, you can read the rest. I mean, I'm not going to stop you from doing that, but if you go all the way down, you'll see an example inputs.conf file, which I'm going to copy this word for word. With the Unix and Linux stuff, Nix, I don't have that luxury here. I don't know if it's in our documentation. I just haven't found it. The examples, maybe I'll dig around and see if I can find it later. But I do have another way to help you out. So let's go back to Splunk Web here and go back up to the top. I have this Config Explorer app that I've downloaded and installed. You could go out to the command line on the indexer and look at the app, or download the app and open it up in Windows and untar it and or unzip it and look at it that way. But here I have Config Explorer. I'll do another video maybe going more into this, and I have the Nix TA already selected. If I go to default and then go into inputs.conf file, you can see at the top of this, there is script and then vmstat metrics.sh. And these are the inputs that you want to enable, because this is what's going to tell the Nix device to send the metrics data. Now, none of this has like what index to send it into, so you will have to make sure to put that in there. And there are other ones down here. This is the old way for the event inputs, so the non-metric index way. If you just want to put this in a regular old event index, this is the ones that you would be using. But for IT Essentials Work and IT Service Intelligence, use these up here that say CPU underscore metric or interface underscore metric. Another thing I want to show before we get going too much further is if I back up, and let's see here, back up, there is a bin folder in the Splunk TA Nix. If you go into that bin, you can see the shell scripts that are going to be running at the intervals that you set. So you have it run every 60 seconds. You can have it run every 5 if you really want to. You know, that's you're going to have to decide that. But if we look at the CPU metric sh shell script here and dig this, dig into it and tear it apart, one thing I did notice on my Ubuntu servers that it wasn't bringing in some of my data. And I started looking at, what commands are actually being ran in this script, and there's this mp stat. Let me jump back to my indexer. I've already fixed this on my universal forwarder, but my indexer I have not, because I wanted to show you all this. So if I come out here and just type in the word mp stat, command not found. And there is another package that I need to install for that command to work. I can jump over to that Nix universal forwarder that I have running. And if I type in, come on now, there we go, mp stat there, I get information. So let's go back to the indexer. And all it is just, doing like it says right there, app install sys stat. Yes. And once that's done, it'll go through it here. Yep. Let's see here. We'll just ignore that for right now. Now I can run that command and it'll work fine. So make sure, if you do get in, you forget about this. If you do get into IT Essentials work and you're like, I'm not getting all the metrics data, check the shell scripts. So the other thing that we can do, actually, nope. I'm getting lost there. We are going to start working on, since I have the indexer up here, let's get into that. It's popped. Splunk, Etsy, deployment apps. Yeah, what I could have done, I don't think I have where you can see it. Let me do that real quick. I mean, if I wanted to, and this is how cool this config explorer is, I can actually jump up to that Etsy folder and then go into my deployment apps and see the apps that I have deployed. And then if I wanted to, here's my inputs.conf file that I'm sending out to all of my Unix Linux boxes. You can enable some other features. Like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time with it here. All right, let's go back to my indexer. Let's see here. I'm going to need, what if that command, yeah, there it is, make directory. I probably could have just typed it out faster. So Nix, let's call it, I don't know, performance. We'll say perf. We'll just create another folder there. Yep. Yep. Let's see here. CD. Let's go into that Nix. Can't type. Performance. Local folder. We'll need to do app.conf. So let me go and grab what I want there, which should be this. We're going to insert, right click, escape, right and quit. And then I'm going to have to create an inputs.conf. And I'm going to jump over to my notes, which I could jump over to, the not documentation, but to that file explorer or the config explorer and pull it out of there. But I've already got this saved in my notes. So we're going to do there we go. And what I've done in here, and this is why, I could have actually cleaned this up a little bit. I have each, because I've showed you before the global setting with the default index. I could have done the same thing here, but I already had this copied from somewhere else. But I do have my index equals ITSI IM metrics. So to make sure to put all this data into that metrics index. Oops. Control Z. Oh, wait a minute. Let me hit escape. And then I need to clean that up. There we go. All right, write and quit. I can do more on inputs. You can see there what I have. There we go. And now I need to, I'm going to back up. And then I want to do that make directory again. This time I'm going to say when and call it whatever you want. If you don't want to call it this, or like I said, you could have went and edited the CD. I need Control C. Started talking and forgot what I'm supposed to be doing. But call it whatever you want. You don't have to follow exactly what I have. If you wanted to, you could have just updated the existing apps that you do have. There we go. There's nothing in there. So, well, I'm in local. There we go. Now there's nothing in there, but I need that. You know, I could copy the app from one to another, but I've got my, handy dandy notes over here. There we go. Write and quit. And then I need an inputs.conf file. And like I said, I am going to be using exactly what you saw in the documentation. And I already have my notes, like I said, my notepad for that. And there we go. And I like to, if I hit I, I insert, right click, escape, write and quit. So if you see, I always like to separate and make little notes inside of my inputs.conf file. And this one here is same thing. I did put my index, which, if you make a mental note, there's index ITSI IM metrics. If I go back over to Splunk Web and show you in that documentation, I mean, it's pretty much word for word. All right. Now with that, let me jump back over to index. And is there anything else that I need at this moment? Let me Control C. No, I should not. So let's jump back over to Splunk Web. Let me change the screen. Let's go to my settings, order management, because I have 7 apps now, but I haven't deployed the 2 new ones yet. So let's go ahead and click edit. Yeah. And then server class, we're going to give it the same. We're going to use that Nix server class that I used before. I make sure to click restart Splunk D. So Nix, I want the Nix server class. I'm going to click save. And then I am going to go down here to Windows, edit. And same thing here. When restart, it found the one Windows box that I have up and running. I'm going to click save. And now once I go back out to my clients, a minute ago, a few seconds ago, this checked in, and now I have 4 deployed. If I, expand that out, we will see that Nix perf inputs is out there. All right, let's see how quickly this will get me data into. Now, it may take a few minutes for IT Essentials work to see that data, because there is a search that runs to look for the data. I can go, let's see here. Let's go to search and reporting. And, everything will have to, the agent will have to restart. So it takes in a new inputs.conf file and whatnot. So if I click on this analytics tab, and this is stuff I'm going to be going over. Yeah, it's not here yet. Search. And then if I, m preview, and then index equals ITSI underscore IM underscore metrics. Let's see if I got anything here yet. I do not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and come back to show you that the data is starting to populate there. Like I said, it's gonna take a little bit of time for it to get the data in. And if I would have just waited, a few more seconds, you can see here that I did start getting data in from the one host around. Let's see here. This is for my Windows device. I really should have renamed the boxes so it was easier to see the difference in those names. Yeah. So now I'm starting to get data in. I'll, you know, keep an eye out to make sure that I am getting data from my, Unix Linux box. But here I do have perfmon metrics data coming in. If I go back to that IT Essentials work app, yep, come on. You can see I do have a Windows box showing up here, and I'm already starting to get CPU utilization, memory utilization, disk utilization. So this is what IT Essential Work brings to the table. Already built out stuff like this to help you be able to drill down and see which boxes, and you can start building searches off of this data. I'm not going to go into that in this video. I just wanted to start getting data in and show you how easy it was. Next, we'll be creating another video to go over how to start making your own dashboards with this data once it comes in. Let me click on infrastructure overview here and see. Yeah, I'm gonna look real quick and make sure to see if I have a problem with my Unix side. And yes, I did find a problem that I caused myself. And it's more with that Linux Unix TA app and just how it works. So here you can see I've got my Unix app. It is reporting and sending in the metrics data that I wanted. How did I figure this out? First thing I did was look at my internal logs, and from your Splunk indexer search head, do an index equals underscore internal, and grab a host that you're collecting, a Unix host. And inside of there, I saw this error, and it was saying that it could not find the shell script. And I was like, well, it's there. However, if you look at, and what I can do is go to Config Explorer here, and if you look at, let's say, the Nix perf inputs local inputs.conf file that I was pushing out, right there, it was trying to go up to a bin folder in this app. And if you were paying attention, I forgot to copy, or just forgot, didn't remember that I needed to copy the bin folder, since I did not push an inputs.conf file inside of the Nix TA. So what I've done is I went back to my indexer. So let me do that. Yep. And you can see where I reloaded the server classes after I did this. But I copied, and if I do an ls, I'm in that Nix perf inputs app, and I copied the bin folder from, see, the Splunk underscore TA Nix app. I copied that bin folder right over. I mean, I can even, here, I can even show you the command. So I'll do a clear. But yeah, I did. There's the, where I copied the, CP, and I just put a dash R in there just for recursive. But anyway, op Splunk Etsy. Well, I was in that Splunk TA Nix app and just copied a folder over like this. And then once I did that, and I told, I did that Splunk. Where is it at? It's in here somewhere. But I did a Splunk reload. I won't waste any more of your time. But Splunk reload deploy dash server had that. It pushed out a new, and I just looked at my timestamps. It pushed out a new Nix perf inputs app, which I can go into there now. let's see. That's Nix underscore perf. There we go. And now you can see that bin folder is there. As soon as I did that, it then started showing up in Splunk Web. So pro tip, lesson learned, if you are going to go the route I did and not just edit and local copy the inputs.conf file in the Splunk TA Nix app, you will need to copy over whatever scripts that you want to run into the app that you create like I did. And I'll make sure, I don't want to really record all the previous stuff, so I'll just make sure to make a note in there to copy the bin folder, and then hopefully you've watched it all this way and didn't stop back there. With that, I hope you have found this video helpful. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. And as always, happy splunking.